Welcome everybody to the MiniMapCast. This is minimap.com.au's weekly games podcast, your favorite weekly games podcast. My name is Kerry Palmer, and joining me this week, as with last week, and probably next week, is Jeremy Braditich.
Hello.
What's up, Jeremy?
Kerry. In T minus, I'm actually not sure how many hours away. At some point between this recording and this going live, it will be the end of a game that I've been playing for quite a while now.
It'll be the end of Marvel Snap?
No. Apex Legends Mobile.
Oh, no.
Is coming to an end.
Yeah, I saw you post a screenshot of a game that you played the other day, and I was like, oh, I thought that was dead.
Yeah, no.
I guess we haven't hit the date yet.
Today. The 1st of May, American time.
Oh.
Marvel Snap will indeed be shut down today.
You said Marvel Snap.
Marvel Snap. Apex Legends Mobile will indeed be shut down today.
That is very sad.
I mean, look.
Maybe it's not.
Look, yes, in the sense that it didn't work, and that's a shame. It was pretty good. I think it was pretty good. It had all of the maps.
All of them?
All of them. They added them in by the end. All of them.
Broken Moon?
Yep. No, sorry, not that one. That's the only one. Okay. That is too recent. They split off. They branched, right? They went their own direction.
Fleetwood Mac.
Yes. Yeah, my own way.
You can go your own direction.
Yeah. They had different characters.
That was cool.
They had different
game
modes.
Character.
They had team deathmatch, and it was better on the mobile than it was on the PC. They had more arenas maps, I want to say, than they had arenas, and now Apex doesn't have arenas anymore.
Yep.
They did pretty fucking well. They made their own changes to maps based on what they wanted. They added Kings Canyon back like a week ago, and there was an entire section that was different.
Oh man, I want that.
We were keeping that going. They were really keeping that going. The thing is, I don't know anyone, including myself or my friend Ollie, who was playing it with me, who paid that game any money.
Yeah.
No money was coming in, I don't think.
Let alone playing the game.
Yeah, like it had a player base. I don't know how big it was, but we always found games. They had
bots.
They did have bots, but once you got over the hump of like you're now good at the game, they fill up your lobbies with real players.
Fortnite conundrum.
Yes, yeah. So there were less and less bots as you played more and more. But yeah, Apex Legend, pour one out. Apex Legend Mobile, pour one out.
Yeah, that's sad. We played some Apex this week. It's the first time in yonks, and the game's good. I just don't have the drive to play something that's that demanding on my phone. You know what I mean?
Like this was a novelty because we have an hour for lunch every day, and so we would go get coffee, get food, and we'd get like a game in. And the novelty on Apex Mobile was that you can get like 30 kills like in your team.
Yeah.
Like, the moment that wasn't the case, it probably wouldn't have been as much of a novelty.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, that is very sad. Did you get enough games in this last week to send it off, do you think?
We got one in today. Last week I had the worst game possible. Like I died 4 times, which was like inconceivable in this game. Yeah. But we just got absolutely stomped on. Today we won handily.
Yeah. Oh well, goodbye Apex Mobile. We'll never know the impact you could have had.
We'll never know the impact you had.
Did you have an impact? We'll never know.
Yeah.
Well, that's enough about Apex. We are here to talk about Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Finally, I've been dying to talk about this game. Like, there was a couple of weeks ago where I played like 8 games for the show, and then there was last week where I had nothing to talk about because I couldn't talk about Jedi, and I want to talk about it. So we're going to do that. We're also going to talk about Dreamhack because Jeremy's been there this week, this weekend. and that you'll hear all about that after the intro. Hey, here's the intro to the show. This is the MiniMapCast. This is minimap.com.au's weekly games podcast. The MiniMapCast goes live on all podcast platforms every Wednesday with 24 hours of early access given to all of our wonderful patrons. More on that in a second. If you like what you're hearing, make sure to tell your friends and give the show a positive rating wherever you listen to your podcasts. It helps out a lot, makes a huge difference, and it only takes a couple of seconds. If you'd like to get notified every time a new episode is released, make sure to follow us on social media. We are at MiniMapAU on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and also Twitch, where we are live every Monday night, where we're currently live right now, 6:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time for the live recording of the MiniMapCast. You can come hang out and chat before and after and during. We were just talking to someone just then who popped in. Alex is in the chat. So yeah, it's a good time. If you've got the time to be there when Monday after evenings, we'd love to see you there. We also wanted to say thank you to Shook for letting us use the Moog Model D Improv as the music for the MiniMapCast. You can listen to more of Shook's music at shook.bandcamp.com. And finally, MiniMap is completely independent and funded almost entirely out of our own pockets. To help keep the lights and mics on, you can support us by becoming one of our patrons. For only $5 a month, you get 24 hours of early access for all episodes of the MiniMapCast, as well as our post shows. They go up there recorded, so you can watch them after the fact. Last week was great. What did we do last week in the post show? We had like 4 things we stacked up.
So many things. You spoke about Mandalorian.
We spoke about Star Wars Forever for the second time in a row.
Yeah. We did your Pokemon guide.
Yeah, I read the Pokemon Platinum guide like it was a book in primary school, like over my shoulder for the webcam.
I did the pros and cons of the death of Elon Musk.
That's right.
And I don't remember what the other one was.
Me either. It was a jam-packed post show, so that's all up on Patreon. We're also doing this week, we've scheduled in Jeremy and I are going to do an E3 conference live reaction, except it's not live, it's for a conference from like 14 years ago. We're just going to throw it on and then like laugh at it and talk about the context and talk about how things changed and talk about how we wish they went back to some things. It's going to be fun. We picked like an early to mid PS3 era Sony conference. Right?
Yeah. I can't remember
the specific one.
Yeah, I can't remember the year, but it'll be like around 2008 ish.
Yeah. So that'll be fun. I hope you're ready for men in suits talking on a stage. So yeah, you can find that on our Patreon, a little bonus bit of content there on patreon.com/minimapau. If you wanted to help us out, get that extra content. And remember, it's cheaper and cheaper and cheaper than a latte with oat milk.
Before we get into it,
yeah,
I know you want to.
Okay, but what are you gonna do?
I need 2 minutes or 3 minutes.
You need to go to the toilet or something?
No. I have like a burning desire in me just to talk about Waypoint for like 3 minutes.
Oh yeah, well yeah, we could talk about Waypoint.
Because I have a story that I don't know if I don't even know if you know. I don't think I knew this until I thought about it until like a little bit later.
Well, for those who aren't aware of the context, Waypoint, which used to be Vice Games, which also then became Waypoint and then became Vice Games again, is officially shutting down June 2nd, which is that's the team over there with Patrick Klepek and Cardo, and had a whole bunch of good industry people go through there. Jeremy's a big fan. You know, people from knowing that show, like you've made friends over Waypoint.
Yeah, friend of the show Byron became friend of the show because them and I bonded over Waypoint, right? Like it was a whole thing.
And like you listened to Waypoint like I listened to Kind of Funny. Like that's your gig.
So like, yeah, so I'm just gonna wind it back a bit. It was like I think Waypoint started in like 2015 or so. I think is around when it started came about.
I think it was 2016. I heard this week when people were reading obituaries.
Yeah. That tracks in my mind. So yeah, it was 2016. And I remember like when it got announced, I was like, oh, like that's cool. I know Vice. They're the weed journalists, right?
Weed.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, like that's cool. They're putting together a gaming division. That's kind of neat. And then I saw it was Austin who went from Giant Bomb to Waypoint.
That's right.
And
What's Austin doing now?
now he works for a game studio. I'm not too sure. And Klepik, who had previously worked for Giant Bomb, who then went over to, I think it was in Kotaku in between, and then went over to Waypoint. I remember when like they announced that they were doing a thing. I was like, oh, that's really cool. So I followed them from the start and like sort of like kept tabs here and there. And then I remember we were at university in 2016 studying to be game developers.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah. This is how far back this
And
was.
look where we are now.
I know, right? And I remember they did an episode of their podcast, Waypoint Radio, the week or days after the 2016 election when Trump won over Hillary Clinton. And the whole country and a lot of the like a lot of the world was reeling from that election, just like what the fuck just happened. And they dedicated like basically an entire episode to just kind of talk about feelings and talk about anger and talking about displacement and talking about like not understanding, and sort of where it goes from there. And I remember like
that would have been such a smart conversation.
It really was. It really was.
It probably made your brain bigger.
Like it did, right? And that was the thing, because I remember like listening to this thing going like, this is like a games thing. Like this is a games podcast. And they're just talking about this thing that's happened for the entire time. And they're talking about, you know, like making sure you stay energized and making sure that you continue to protest and go to rallies and be a part of your like local political communities and all of that stuff, right? And I remember like this is a video games podcast, but they've got this. Like they really got this. I remember thinking like, how did they do that?
It's funny. I was just about to say that's what people get from us when they get the start of our podcast and we don't talk about video games, except no one says they've got this.
Yeah.
So I couldn't say it.
Yeah. They have a very firm grasp on everything that's going on, and we've got like a tangential idea of about a lot of things, but not everything. And I remember like following them from that moment much stronger, because it was like a full on like this is how you can, and like they were relating that as well. They were relating that to games in terms of like stuff like Gamergate and stuff like, you know, toxicity across player bases and online communities and you know, places like Reddit and 4chan, all that stuff, that where like gaming is extremely popular. Like it's all one big thing. And I remember like that was kind of actually the moment where I was like I want to do that. And I not physically, but in my mind, I pointed to them and I was like, how do I do that?
Yeah. And
that was when I started to get more involved in some of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I just I can remember the night. Like it was
wow.
It was kind of cool. I remember like hopping on the train, and I remember kind of just like really weirdly like having a like, oh right, like people can do this, and it's not, you know, kind of, I guess, just like, it's not just games, and it's never sort of just been games.
It can also be something aside from like just playing to the rules of the publishers and
but like
being like glorified publicity machines, like
and you know, also things like, you know, like it's about people and spaces and community and understanding and you know, like I've noticed this thing lately that whenever, like, just to quickly related to another topic, whenever you and I talk about like comparing The Mandalorian to Andor, right? The thing that I've started that I've noticed that I always say is like, I scream as loud as I can that Andor is about people. And it's like it's because like actually everything is, to the point that when it's not, I don't think it's like really any good or not.
Okay.
And like I noticed that with Waypoint as well. It was always about the people, right? Like a lot of their coverage was so focused around crunch and culture and labor in the workforce, which is
devs.
Yeah. And it's always been about that stuff, because all of that stuff is always about people, because like culture reporting is about people. And seeing them go is a blow for the industry. It is a blow for video games, a blow for critique.
Do you think for you, Jeremy, it would be too far to say it is a blow for culture?
Like, I think it is a blow for critiquing culture. Yeah, like as a whole, Waypoint made everything better. They left the industry better than how they found it. And it is a complete shame that it is gone the way it is, which is just nothing but like, you know, a company looking at that going, I don't really know what that is and I don't really understand it. The week before The Legend of Zelda, the new one comes out.
Yeah.
Can you imagine you are an executive of Vice? Sure. An executive of Vice, right? You have a game like Zelda coming out.
Yeah.
And
fucking game of the generation, the sequel.
Yeah, and 3 weeks later you have no one to report on it.
Yeah.
Like, that game has not got a tail that is going to be, you know, 1 month. It's got a tail that's going to be until the end of the year.
Yeah.
Like, that's what those games are. Like, famously, there's like a handful of games that if you write about for a publication above a certain size, that article will just make money. That's like Minecraft, Roblox, Fortnite, Skyrim. Like, those ones always do money. Skyrim still. I'm sure Breath of the Wild is probably up there, right?
Yeah.
People will always want to know more about that. And
the thing that's blowing my mind with Breath of the Wild, you know, GameSpot's series of like things you didn't know about Breath of the Wild?
Yeah.
Like, they've been doing that once every month for 2 or 3 years straight.
Yep.
And they started that 4 years after the game came out.
Yep.
Like
when like, there's a handful of games that that people can be employed to report on specifically. Like, those games are like a lot of live service games.
Destiny.
Like Destiny, Warframe, kind of. World of Warcraft is one. Final Fantasy is another.
Yeah,
the
that's
online
another,
one. Yeah. Like, and like there's a bunch of those games that will exist as basically like, I can just report on this, and it's like being a football reporter. Like, I don't report on any other sport, but I report on this specific one, and I'm really good at it.
Yeah.
You know, Breath of the Wild, you could probably do that.
Yeah, maybe not forever, because it's not a service game.
Not forever.
Yeah, no, you could do it 4 months.
Yeah. And yeah, like, there's literally, like, you know, I'm just going to read a tweet here from Patrick Klepek from 7 hours ago. Waypoint was profitable. For a long time, the company bragged about having a subscription business with a steady income. The company stopped bragging when we did too well right out of the gate, and they didn't like the lack of growth. Being profitable wasn't enough. And, you know, they ended every single one of their podcasts with the phrase, fuck capitalism, go home. That started with Austin. That was just the phrase of how they all felt every single day. And it is like,
go home as in like stop working for the man, or
as in just like in a way, yes, it is more of a like, you know, fuck this shit, like, don't play ball. Never been truer when than after capitalism has fucked them. Yeah,
it's sad.
Love that place.
Yeah, I haven't listened to much of their content. I listened to a couple of random ones here and there, but I listened to their like 4.5 hour Last of Us 2 review.
Yeah. And
like, that made my brain bigger. That was like, what a piece of like criticism. Like, it's like literary criticism.
Yeah.
It's incredible. The connections that these people can make, the wealth of knowledge that they can pull from to make those connections. They're talking about history, they're talking about politics, they're talking about like people's politics and what that means for different like cultures and different nationalities. Like, it's for a zombie game. Like, it's amazing the kinds of things they could speak to.
There was a moment I remember, like, it was like a giant bomb at night thing at E3 when they had, you know, journalists rotating in and out. And I remember once there was a moment where like Jeff being the host would always be like, hey, like, you know, like what are you looking forward to at E3? What you doing? All that stuff. Like, what are your plans? And, you know, the answer was usually like, oh yeah, like I'm you know, I'm going to previews and doing events and I'm excited
to see Cyberpunk.
Yeah, all that stuff, right? And I remember the answer Austin gave, which was like, yeah, like we're sort of here with kind of like a single vision for this E3, which is we're going to go up to every single developer and just ask them about crunch and what their workplace is like and what are they doing. And I remember like just like the bucket of like cold water that poured on my face of like you're doing that at E3 as the EIC for this publication as the unified vision of a publication.
Yeah.
I don't know any other outlet that was doing anything close to that. Obviously, there are still reporters that have been and still report on stuff like that.
Not at E3 though.
Like very, very rarely at E3. And
like you couldn't say to someone that, hey, instead of us covering that Keanu Reeves was on stage and we maybe got to interview him, we are going to talk to whatever like art director or like junior level designer who's there to help get the build running and it like on the floor.
And it wasn't even you know it wasn't even a personal thing of like like Rob's doing labor reporting, Patrick's doing Newsbeat, whatever, right? It was like as a publication, that's what we're doing. Yeah. This is like the single unified voice that Waypoint has that is going to in the end make everyone's lives better.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that just doesn't exist.
No, and it's about to exist even less.
Yes.
Which is very sad. We don't know what or if they're doing anything after this, right? Like you were saying that maybe Klepik's moving on to do something else.
Yeah, like he's in the past said that you know he's probably not going to be in this gig forever.
Yeah.
And
this is the kind of thing that lets people
like
choose to go their own different direction.
Right. And it's like, you know, the games media industry has in at least the journalism space has never had less volatility than it does right now.
Man, this year's been disgusting. It's awful.
And you know, like he's got kids now. Like, you know, he's got to think about what he needs to do. So if he wants to get out of that gig, I don't think anyone's gonna look at him saying like, "What are you doing?" It's gonna be like, "Yeah, no. you need money to come in, so you have 2 children that can continue to eat, right?" Like it's
maybe he should get hired by Ubisoft to put politics into their games.
No, they're not interested in that. Remember?
Yeah, well, maybe they can look at the last 3 years of them circling the drain, and they can figure out if they've got room in their business model.
What?
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sad. Well, I'm sure we'll talk more about it when it gets closer to June 2nd when they leave this industry. Yeah. On a completely different topic, you want to talk about Star Wars?
Yeah, let's talk about Star Wars.
So we've both been playing Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
Mm-hmm.
I found out today that Jeremy and I basically ended our games in the same like amount of like story progress completion last night, which is very distressing because I've been playing this game for like nearly 2 weeks and Jeremy's had it for like 72 hours.
Yeah, like
and he was at a conference since Friday.
Yeah,
like, and you were partying like on Saturday night. Like I'm sitting here just reeling from the like, oh, whoa. But it's very funny. It means we can talk to a lot of the same things, which is good.
Yeah.
I really like this game a lot. I was listening to a podcast while I was organizing dinner before, and they were talking about Horizon. And I started thinking about how I feel about Horizon and its open world in comparison to Jedi Survivor and its open world. Or open
world.
Some worlds, some of its open worlds.
Wide levels, I think, is how I actually would probably describe it.
Yeah, Kobo's quite large.
Yeah, it's very wide. Open. Yeah.
And then some of the other planets are quite linear. So yeah, it's funny. It feels weird because there's more than one world.
Yeah, but it's not an open world because you can only get to nearly all of the points you can only get to via one track. Like it's not like it's a big circle that you can walk around in and visit where you want. It's like
it's an open world in the same way that Metroid is kind of open in that you need upgrades to progress.
Yeah, which is not an open world.
No.
It's just not an open world. We did a whole Zelda conversation about this. It's not open world.
I'll take open worlds as distinct from open world.
No, they're the levels. They're just
No, but Kobo's not. Kobo's big. And Jeddah.
Yeah, they're big. It's not an open world. They're levels. You can't get from one side of the map to the other via wherever you want. You got to take the path. It's not an open world. I don't know what to tell you. You can't go, like, if there's locations 1, 2, and 3, and 4, you can't get to 4 from 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, you've won me over.
Yeah.
With its open level design.
Yeah. It's wide levels.
Yeah. And like, but you know, they've got side quests and they've got like areas for you to go back to and like legendary beasts to defeat, and you can go back with different abilities and stuff like that. And I was thinking about how I wish that I enjoyed Horizon's gameplay as much as I enjoyed Star Wars. Like, I feel like, specifically Jedi Survivors, because I feel like that's the thing that's missing for me to really love Horizon. Like, I love the story and the setting and the world. I like the characters and all of that, but I just don't like traversing or combat in that game that much. Like, it's fine for me.
Yeah.
Whereas in Star Wars, so far for me, I have felt like I'm just ready to do anything. I just want to be in that world. I just want to be in that place. And it's a very similar feeling to me as Assassin's Creed 2, where it's just like, I just want to do all the things there is to do because I enjoy just being in this world, doing all of the actions that are available to me in this world. Yeah,
like I think, like I'm trying to think of how many hours I put into it. I'm probably sitting at about 12-ish hours, maybe 13. And yeah, like I think the world, like it's got more character than a game like Horizon, because like it is like linear-esque, right? It is pathways, and it is wrapping pathways, not unlike a Dark Souls-esque type game. But like and I think that they have like looked at, like it's hard to say how much they've looked at Elden Ring, considering Elden Ring has been out for relatively not that long, but like the wide open areas of Jedi Survivor do feel like Elden Ring zones, where you're sort of going around and there's a few paths you can sort of take and areas to lead you, and there's sort of roaming enemies that sort of just like hang out and respawn when you rest at a bonfire.
Even down to the like when they like reveal the world to you, it's like looking out at Limgrave for the first time, or Livonia.
Yeah, but like I think the combat is much better than it was in Fallen Order. I think I think I just don't really like this style of game that much, which is fun.
Jeremy, I'm fascinated to hear what you think about this game, because I'm playing it and I'm like, oh, I think it's fairly similar to the first one.
It's a sequel to the first game, right? And like, why wouldn't it be? That game did very well and critically was pretty good. I think that, you know,
I'm at 25 hours.
Right. I think this game like has not improved on the stuff that I wanted it to improve from the first. Almost at all. Some of the characters I think are better, and some of them I still like. I'm just not like, I just don't gel with a lot of this cast. I think they just don't have a whole lot of characterization just yet.
And that's important, because that has, for the majority of the game that we have played so far, that has been the like point of the game.
Yeah, like
the characters.
There's a lot of stuff riding on these characters. Actions in between the two games, reactions to where they are, you know, them sort of
your history with them from the first game.
Yeah, and like I think a lot of it, like maybe my biggest issue is just like I just cannot enjoy Cal Kestis almost like at all, and everything in this game is in service to him, and when he fails, he's the bottom card of a house of cards that is sort of falling. The singular bottom card in a house of cards. You know how that works.
Yeah, he's the bottom.
Maybe I couldn't have picked a worse analogy. Maybe I couldn't have picked a worse analogy. And like there is stuff to enjoy more in this game that I am enjoying more. I think that the world overall looks better. I think that they're
nicer to be in too than the other worlds. Like like Zepho was so like gray and like oppressive to be in that first planet. Like all of those planets felt lonely in the first game.
I didn't love being in Kashyyyk. I didn't really love being on Dathomir. Like there wasn't a whole lot of enjoyment, and I think because like for the most part that like you weren't really visiting civilization much in that first game. It was always abandoned or derelict planets.
Or a Imperial base.
Yeah. And in this there's at least a bit more like lived in Star Wars. Like, you know, like when we talk about Star Wars, what are we talking about, Curry? We're talking about freaky little guys. You know, we're
talking about glup shit.
We're talking about little freaks, and this game has got little freaks, which is good, but there's a lot of moving cogs that are all individually actually pretty good, but they're not actually in sync for me yet. They're all kind of spinning as they're trying to find the right speed to spin at. Like the combat in this is the combat from the first game made better. It reminds me of, you know, the jump from Horizon Zero Dawn to Forbidden West, which is like, you know, if you enjoy the combat in this one, you will like it in this because it is that but better. If you didn't like it in the first one, you probably won't in this because it is more of that.
It's not literally the same, but also it's not different.
Yeah, it's not. I think that there's more overall abilities in this, which is at least allowing me to sort of have a bit more like say in what goes on. But there are so many. I just keep bumping stuff in this game that feels like a mistake, and it's not, which means it's a decision that continues to baffle me. Right, like I'm bringing it up before. I'm gonna bring it up again. Me getting a health stim should never be a thing that I can directly interrupt unless I'm moving something out of the way. It is such the issue of me getting a health stim, Cal saying, "Hey, BD, give me a stim." The beginning of the animation, maybe, you know, like I'm not sure at what point the cutoff will kick in, but. The fact that I continuously think I have more health than what I actually do, because it doesn't make it all the way there, because either I interrupt it or someone else interrupts it after I think it's already been confirmed. I think maybe the issue is the voice and the feedback that I'm getting. I'm not getting the feedback to say that it hasn't actually happened, right? I'm not getting the feedback, or at least
maybe like, you could do with like a drone noise of like a pew, or like not working or something.
Or just like I'm just getting false positives is the thing. I'm getting so many times where I'm being told, yes, you have this thing, and I'm just not getting it, and it breaks my brain. And there are so many little things of that scale that I notice that continuously I'm getting more and more into it, and I'm getting more and more into it, and then something pops up, and I'm like, fucking Jedi, fucking Star Wars game. Like, and it's always that. It's always just that one final little bit of consideration that I can just never grab and think that it was purely thought out all the way through. And like part of that is, you know, we don't have to go into it that much because everyone's already talking about it. The performance and the lack of polish on this game is.
Oh, it's worth us talking about, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's not great. It is not in a great spot. No. Digital Foundry are really putting out their stuff. Yeah.
I was playing pre-day one patch, and it was worse. That said, it seems like the PlayStation 5 is the best place to play, which is what I'm playing on. You were talking to me. You're playing on an Xbox, yeah?
Yeah.
Yes. You were talking to me that you're not just getting like you're in performance mode, and you're not just getting dips well below 60, which happens so frequently on PS5. But you're getting like hitches, right? Like pauses, like
and
the game hangs briefly.
It's like once an hour, but it's like it's once an hour. Like you know,
Yeah.
like oh, like I noticed that again.
Yeah, it's funny. I've had that only happen. I feel like I can count that happening on like one hand for me.
And
I haven't had hitches.
the jump from cutscenes going to 30 FPS when I'm hitting when the console is trying to hit 60 and gameplay is annoying. Things like you know the clear moments where I'm walking around in water and suddenly everything drops from you know hovering around 55 to sometimes like the high 30s. The ray tracing failing at some point. I had this weird ghosting effect in a cutscene.
Oh, I've
a
seen that ghosting effect a couple of times, but not in the cutscene.
hideous, like dreadful to look at. Like like imagine screen space reflections, which are already ugly, on everything. It's like I was on drugs. It was so fucking weird.
But just when like certain objects pass over certain materials, right?
Oh, for me, it was all around Cal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was not good.
Yeah, I was actually watching Digital Foundry today. It's funny, they only put up the video today because they didn't get a code.
Yeah, I'm shocked.
I
mean, look, if there was a day one patch going to fix performance stuff, what are they really going to do pre day one? That isn't.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
that's the thing. So yeah, but they were saying the PC. They put out two videos saying the PC code is not up to it's not up to standard at all. But also that on PS5, the ray tracing that they have enabled is the same between quality and performance modes.
Yeah,
and that in fact almost all of the effects and the different settings that you can like change and disable on PC are the same between performance and quality mode. Nearly the only difference is the resolution target for the game. But what that means is that like a lot of effects are being loaded in the performance mode. So of course we're not staying at 60. There's no option to turn ray tracing off. It's always on.
And there's so many, like, you know, the amount of times I'm going into the main base that you've got on whatever the planet's called, Cobalt? Kobo. And like the ship flies down into like the hangar, and as it's flying, all the lights in the base are off, and I'm like, what's happened to the base? And it's because they just haven't fucking rendered yet, because and like I like walk out of the ship and the lights are still coming on as I'm walking around, and I'm like, you're calculating the lighting while I'm running around, like I'm in gameplay.
I'm here, we've landed, I'm here.
And like, look, overall it doesn't like ruin the game, but like, fuck me, is it just another thing that I look at this game and I'm just like, fucking Jedi Fallen game.
I will say, I said this to you and you disputed it a little bit last night, but the game is polished in different ways that the first one wasn't. Like, there was a lot of stuff that was really like loose, borderline bad in the last game. Like the rope mechanics in the first game, you used them a lot and they were very inconsistent. Throwing you in directions you didn't want to go.
Just
or
like Cal just not grabbing them.
You just couldn't catch it. You could hardly see it sometimes. Like in this game, the ropes are thicker. It's way easier to see them. You always grab them when you jump to them. You basically always jump off the way you want to when you get there. Like
I don't.
Oh, well.
I don't.
Does it feel the same as the first game?
It feels better, I think, only because there are fewer ropes. Because there
are definitely fewer
because
ropes.
They've opted for grappling hook, which is like overall a better system because there's just there is less room for error. But I'm gonna show you a video that I recorded.
Okay.
This is like, you know, early middle game, just Cal jumping around.
Oh yeah, what's his second visit to Jeddah?
Something like that, yeah.
I haven't changed his outfit at all, Jeremy.
No, I have. He looked dressed up as Mario. So there's the thing that you see that shit?
What the fuck was that?
Well,
that was that force pull, and then you grappled onto something instead. Wow.
Yes. I've had shit like that. It's tiny annoyances.
Yep.
That always just get in the way. They get in the way of me enjoying this game.
That's fair enough. Lots of little hurdles.
Yeah.
I that reminds me of something that's happened to me 3 or 4 times now. And I think it happens with the dual wield stance, the dual blade stance rather than the double. Where Cal will zip over into an enemy at like with like no moment's notice and kind of like unnaturally, like too far. Like he will zip for no reason. And a lot of the times it ends up in me getting hit because they're attacking and I'm way away because I need a heal or I'm like out of the way. And occasionally he'll just be like zoom, he'll be right there all of a sudden. I'm like, ah shit.
Yeah.
It's there are those weird little inconsistencies and unevenness. I think for me the biggest issue with the performance, aside from the couple of crashes I've had, it's the disappointing performance, like the lack of 60.
Yeah, it might as well not
occasionally
exist.
Sure, but it's the thing for me is it's like I'm surprised. I noticed the times where it actually gets to 60. I'm like, oh, this bit. There mustn't be anything else loaded behind me.
Yeah,
like,
right. Yeah,
that's what it feels like. It's one in every 10 minutes is that moment.
And quality mode can dip down to the teens.
Yeah, it can, which is it's just bad. But that wouldn't bother me as much if the fidelity of what the image looks like was good to great, but it's not. The resolution is so soft. And so again, Digital Foundry's video today, they did the pixel counting to look at the resolution. So performance mode targets 1440p, quality mode targets 4K. But the underlying image is being upscaled with AMD's FSR, which is their answer to NVIDIA's DLSS.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, it's not NVIDIA DLSS. It's just not quite as good as that.
Yeah. And
DLSS,
while is great, is also like not perfect.
That's right. Like upscaling is still like it's AI guessing. Like it leads to noise, it leads to shimmer. It's an imperfect sort of thing as compared to native rendering. But Jeremy, sometimes the image that they are upscaling for the performance mode is less than 720p in native resolution. And they're upscaling it to 1440p, which I'm then looking at on my 4K monitor. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, why does everything look cloudy, like particly, like there's particulate around everything. There's little bits of gray around Cal's arms whenever he moves.
Everything everything is cartoon smelly.
Yeah, just a bit. Yeah. Or like if you're in a room with lots of detail, like the archive on Jedi, where there's lots of books on the wall, there's so much fine detail in the distance that it literally moves as the FSR like tries to resolve the image. And these just solid lines, it's like bookshelves.
Yeah.
But these solid lines are wavering and shimmering in the distance. Like there's a heat shimmer, which doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
That has been the biggest performance bummer for me. And I still just want to play this game as much as I possibly can. I might New Game Plus this.
I was thinking about the structure of this game just to kind of change gears a little bit. Yeah. Does this game remind you of God of War Ragnarok a bit?
Jeremy, it really does.
It really does, right? Like,
which is fascinating because that game came out 5 months ago.
Oh yeah, like there was no way that this was decided based on that, but like
no. But even some of the puzzles and mechanics are made remind me of Ragnarok. Like there's an ability you get for BD where you can sort of draw lines of this Kobo dust matter. And then you can ignite it with this certain beam that's in certain levels, and that can break these things.
I broke so many puzzles with that. Like that thing, like like the puzzles that are in that big section, they are not quite as robust as I think that they were hoping to be, and so you can skip a lot. It's quite funny. Like it's kind of neat.
Yeah.
Because like there's no reason to not do it because you can always go back and redo those puzzles correctly if you miss a collectible somewhere. But like they're like the mechanic is maybe a little bit too robust for the puzzles that are trying to like obfuscate the solution. Yep. So
it's good. It does remind me of Ragnarok a bit though, where it's like, oh, we go to Svartalfheim and that's all we could do here for now, but we'll go back to the home base and something's happened. Let's go to Alfheim and like, something's happened again. We need to go back to Svartalfheim. And it's like, now we have to go to Vanaheim. It's like, this is like, oh, we got to go to Kobo, and we got to go
And-
to the
and
Jeddah. Now we got to go to the moon.
And it's like, oh, like I've got I've got Marin with me, or like now I've got Thingo with me, and like I've got a button to tell them to do their attack, and then I've got a button,
Yep.
and it's the same button to tell someone else to do their attack, and I've got a different, yeah.
And it's like, oh, hey, now that Marin's joined us, maybe we should go back to Coruscant. It's like, why?
Yeah,
But,
what, like, why would I do that? Like, is the
But it reminds me of I don't want to. But it reminds me when you get other characters in Ragnarok and you bring them in and it's like, oh, they could it changes how you do this side quest in this area. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's done better in this, but I'm not loving it. It's a bit like, here's my friend of the week.
It's a bit like that. I'm disappointed that I'm not loving the story. Like, I was talking to you about, like, you were asking if there was a gameplay recap before you played, and I was like, it's like there technically is, but like if you don't, like, it's so vague that you would really struggle to remember what it's actually showing you. And so what I told you was do what Sam and I did, which was we watched we went to YouTube, found the like Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, all cutscenes, the movie, whatever video, and we watched the last hour. And that was really good. And there were moments in that which had us both crying watching this YouTube video and not seeing all the build-up, like, but genuine,
It was
really,
the Poo Wookiees, wasn't it?
we skipped the Poo Wookiees.
Oh, that would have made me cry.
No, but it's the moment where, like, 'cause if you remember, like, BD's memories have been erased of his old master, and he's remembering them as he's trying to show you the path. And it's the bit where Cal makes his own lightsaber on Ilum.
Mm.
Like, it's a moment with BD, and it's a moment for Cal. It's a whole thing. And I just don't feel like they've brought the characters to the place where I had them before in the first game. Like, and you know, they kind of did that thing where it's like they went away, you have to find them all again. Like, Grease is basically the same, and that's fine. I like Grease enough, that's fine. But
he owns a bar now, and he's got
he owns a bar now, and
hair.
he's got a metal arm. And,
yeah. And if you want to find out what happens with metal arm, you should read the interlude novel.
Legitimately?
Yes, that's not a joke.
Oh, that's sad.
I mean, that's Star Wars, baby. Why does C-3PO have a red arm in The Force Awakens? Buy the Lego Star Wars The Force Awakens and play the additional chapter that is in there to understand why.
Oh, is that really a thing?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
He doesn't have the red arm in any other movie, so like it doesn't fucking matter. But like, yeah.
Yeah. But it's the kind of thing where it's like, why doesn't Sia have more to do? Like she's there, but I feel like every scene she's in, like, they're just getting through the dialogue. Like, there's no moment for how big of a factor she was in the first game. She was a huge component of the first game, massive. And I feel like every scene she's in this, they're just trying to get to the end of the next line of dialogue. Like, she's there to be like, and what did you find with this item that you brought us? Like, there's a weird sort of like disconnect, I'm feeling like. Apparently the story gets better towards the second half of the game. I am looking forward to that happening, because I don't think it's bad. It's just like not really much of anything has happened.
Yeah,
so far.
and like I think it's interesting because like the crux of the story, all of this High Republic stuff, all of this, like the reason why the villains are there and all that stuff, are very completely disconnected to everything.
Yeah, and like I don't mind dealing with the High Republic. Like, that's fun. It's fun to deal with that setting. Oh, there's a couple of people who have, like, there's a droid who's been stuck for like 200 years, and you reboot her, and there's someone who was in a Bacta tank this whole time, and you find them. But like that's cool, and there are all these old buildings. That's really neat.
But like, at least, you know, like, but there's no direct connection. Like, no one has a direct connection to the High Republic, to these characters, aside from, you know, Cal's obscene obsession with the fucking rebuilding the Order, and like the idea that
I don't think that's not what he wants to do in this game.
Yeah, but like he's forever referencing it as like the thing that, you know, like, oh, like the Order, we, like, you know. He mentions it a lot to like on Jeddah to Marin, and he wants to continuously like serve the Order, and you know he's cutting off his feelings because that's what they did in the Order, and like all that, and like it's like I hate all that.
Yeah, they're tending towards him moving away from that, which I think is good. But
like not fast enough. Like I need a
no, not really any of the stories happening fast enough.
that boy needs to put a fucking accelerator foot on that because he needs to get away from that creepy place as much as he can.
Just remember that he's the one at the end of Fallen Order, spoilers, who broke the holocron that had all of the Force sensitive children on it.
Yeah,
like,
I know. Yeah, there's a strange disconnect in between our heroes and our villains in terms of like they don't really know who each other are in that way.
No,
and
no.
like that,
and like they
it's
like
not
the reason why they're
necessarily-
fighting is a bit disconnected as well.
And it's not necessarily a bad thing yet because we haven't got to the end, but like it kind of reminds me of, so I recently watched Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania for the first time the other day.
Okay.
And the guy that plays Yellow Jacket is there as
Oh, is he? Because he got blasted into the quantum realm.
well,
That's
no,
funny.
because he's fucking MODOK. With his big dumb
Oh,
face. Yeah.
is he?
Yeah. And I was like, oh, like
Okay,
that's
cool.
funny. And there's a very
great
funny joke in that for the entire film where he's like, hey Scott, like we're like enemies for life sort of thing. And Scott Lang, Paul Rudd is like Darren, because that's hilarious as a conceptual bit. That's very funny.
Yeah.
And what that actually is doing is playing off in the first Ant-Man movie, the main hero and the main villain, like they barely fucking know each other.
That's a good point.
Like, and they meet the moment the heist, the entire heist.
They meet at like the very critical point of the final act of the film.
The end of the heist is the first time they meet, and then they fight at the end, and like that's their only interaction.
Yeah.
Because there's this big reveal of like, you know, he captures Ant-Man and he's like, and he calls him like, aha, I've caught you, Scott Lang. And the reveal is like, how do you know who Scott Lang is? You two don't have any actual connection to each other.
Yeah. Like Scott knows who he is, but
yeah, he knows who he is as the guy he's stealing from, but he doesn't like know him personally. They never met.
yeah, just what the people have said around him.
And it makes that interaction really strange. And it's kind of a bit like that here, where like they know each other as like, you know, you're a Jedi, you used to be in the High Republic as part of the Order. And Cal's getting his story via, you know, like Force,
like incomplete flashbacks.
Yeah. And that's all fine, but there's no personal stakes really in between them. There's no personal conflict between them, which makes it tricky to really care when they fight. So I hope that they get there with that stuff, because I'm digging the High Republic, like shot in the arm, I guess, that this game is getting. Because I'm
glad this game found a way to not be spun up. Like it is still in that episode 3-4 gap, but it's not intrinsically tied to, like, we're not getting the levels of Easter eggs we got in the last one, like where you're on Island, which turns into Starkiller Base. Like, it's not like, oh, and look at this. This is a reference to oh, you're on Kashyyyk. Maybe you'll see Chewbacca. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
Or you
don't see.
Talk to Tarful or Saw Gerrera.
Yeah. I was gonna say you don't meet Chewbacca, but you sure meet Tarful.
Yeah.
Remember him?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like in this,
they're
there's
finding a way
of that.
to tell their own story without all of those very almost ham-fisted connections.
And on top of that, the amount of content we've got in between 3 and 4 now is massive, right? Like we have the entirety of Star Wars Rebels, we have the entirety of the Bad Batch, we have the entirety of
had Andor.
We just had Andor. We have Rogue One. We're gonna get another season of Andor, and I'm sure there's more that I'm forgetting. And like the first Fallen Order game,
Solo
as well, another one. Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan, yeah.
You know, there's a lot. There's a lot in between 3 and 4. And like, I get it. It's like an interesting period, but at some point you're going to accidentally stand on each other's shoes.
Yeah, you're going to run out of space. And you're going to fill the gap.
Them focusing on this High Republic stuff, which is going to be expanded upon more as more Star Wars stuff comes out over the next few years, I think allows it to play in a different playground. Even though it is unfortunately still in that time frame. Like I wish it just wasn't to begin with. Like I wish it was something different.
Yeah.
But like I wished that at the time, you know, like I'm not saying now the next Star Wars fucking Jedi game needs to be in between like 8 and 9 or whatever, but like, you know, there is that was just where they've picked up.
I would more wholeheartedly agree with you if I didn't love being able to fight prequel era enemies in this game.
Oh, I'm so over it.
Oh man, why do you always hate the things I love in this game?
only because like I'm looking at this and like, look, I get it. I think it's not so bad. You know, being able to fight all that stuff is fine, but like, it is just they get that they're at a casino, right? And they've got the casino machine and they can just keep pulling the lever, except they've rigged the machine to just continuously like make money.
Jeremy, what are you talking about?
It just feels like it feels like it sure is the stuff I remember. Like I recognize that. I know what that is. The droids.
Yeah, but I like pushing B1 battle droids over and they break instantly, and fighting B2 battle droids. Like, it's really cool. I like climbing in a Luca Hulk and seeing the AAT tanks. Like, it's cool.
Like yeah, it's cool in terms of like. I just wish it was in a different game. Like I just wish it was in a game set in the prequels. Just put it there. Like I don't need these two eras to like I hate the Star Wars timeline because I hate how short it is, and I hate being reminded how close everything is.
Oh, okay. That's a you problem.
Yeah, I know, but it's also a timeline problem. It's because these eras feel like the era of the Empire feels like it went on for 100 fucking years, and really it went on for like 19 or 20 years. Yeah. Right? Like these, you know, there was someone who, you know, fucking Chewbacca lived through all of this stuff and he's like 150. He's like actually not that old. Like relative.
I didn't know Wookiees could live that long. It's funny.
Oh yeah, he's like, there's a joke in Solo where like Solo mentioned something to him and Chewbacca rolls back and he goes like you're 105? And he looks at Chewbacca and he goes like, you look great. Which is a good joke. Yeah, it's great. It's a great joke. Yeah, but like they're all so close together, and it's like it is just more droid stuff that I recognize as opposed to like give me like another type of villain. Give me like a new villain. Do something like really fucking outlandish. Give me a High Republic like force of evil that is like it doesn't have to be an army.
Like the Bedlam Raiders?
No. Oh, look, they're fine. I don't enjoy fighting them, but like
they're not a problem.
Yeah, conceptually, like they're all right. I don't know. It's like the moment they're done with these, I don't know what they're going to do to the third game because there's no more army for them to pick from.
They'll do a third game.
Yeah,
it's
I know.
Coming.
I know, but there's no additional army to look at and go, oh, we should do that, unless they do like Geonosians or like, you know.
You go to Camino and fight like leftover clones.
Yeah, right. Like something horrid like that. Yeah. Also, and this is a thing, an issue that I have with like the Mandalorian as well. You sure go to a lot of planets and just kill indigenous wildlife, like often. Like so often, I am just killing animals that in their homes so many times. Mm-hmm. Innocent animals, like I am killing innocents.
I suppose as a Jedi,
as a Jedi,
as a Jedi survivor, Jeremy.
Yeah, maybe he's actually just a survivor of the Jedi Order because the Order was dreadful to begin with. But like, there's so many animals that I have slaughtered. And then if they killed me, it is then my immediate mission, again, like in the first game, to
revenge.
Yeah, to revenge them.
Yeah.
And kill them so I can get my imaginary points back.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Like I know it's a game, but also
it makes sense that you feel this way about it considering how you felt about the first game.
Yeah.
And that's what I thought when I was playing it. I was like, oh, Jeremy's not gonna love this game.
Like I like it more, but like I don't love it. And I'm very aware that I don't love it. It's also like, look, the stuff I like about it more is that it's more of a Metroidvania. Like it is like, this is a Metroidvania. This is like, you'll get abilities that will unlock doors that you haven't unlocked before, which is the most Metroid-ass fucking thing that you could possibly do. You know, there are green doors, there are red doors. You will soon get red ability, and then you will soon get green ability.
Yeah.
And like that stuff is fine because I think it's. I don't think I'm going to play a lot of it after I beat the story, and like that's most games with me anyway. But I think that that's a good way to make the replayability a lot more interesting, of like remembering that there were green doors that you haven't actually been back to. The map is a bit easier to read now as well, that I can actually use it, as opposed to it just being the blue and red like squares. That I do have a better understanding of where I'm going and would be able to piece it together a bit more in my head from referencing the map. And that stuff is better. Also, like overall stances, I think are really cool. Like I think they're like maybe the best addition in this game. Is the ability to really change it up.
You properly get the dual bladed stance, which was the biggest shame with the first game, was that was only like a single attack where you could split the lightsaber.
Yeah.
And now it's a full stance, and then you get a blaster, and you can use your lightsaber like you've got a cutlass, like you're a pirate. And
I didn't like that one. Like I tried to, and I was like, I just couldn't. It just didn't click for me, that one.
I don't love it, but sometimes I like just shooting one-shot enemies.
Sure, yeah.
Just like walking in and just taking them out.
Yeah.
And then you get your Kylo Ren broadsword saber, which is really good.
That's the one I've been using the most. It's so fucking sick.
The thing for me is that now that I've got the blaster one, which is like the single saber and the blaster, I find it I just don't use the single saber stance nearly at all. I change a lot. I change them all out pretty frequently.
Yeah.
But I know other people just choose their favorites and then they've got their two and they go like that.
Yeah, I'm changing it out only because double-ended lightsaber is so far and away better than all of the others, to the point that if I ever have any difficulty, like I got stuck on a boss for like, I died about like 10 times, and I'm like, oh, okay, like I'm actually like kind of struggling here. I've put it up to the second hardest difficulty.
Yeah, that's what I've been on.
Yeah, and I've not had a whole lot of. I'm not dying often.
It's the kind of thing like you got used to it in the first 2 or 3 hours, and then it was all right.
I just started on it. I was like, if I need to bring it down.
Oh, no, me too. But like, I died a few times in those first couple of hours. Like, first time they let me loose in Kobo.
Right.
Like, I was like, oh, I'm going to go take on these animals. Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
But like, since then, I like calibrated.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, the moment I need a difficulty hit, I just pull out the double-ended lightsaber. And it eats the boss's health so fucking quickly.
Well, yeah, it strikes fast.
It does so many hits, and so when you get into damage phases in bosses, like it like their health just like disappears.
Yeah, and you don't get that sort of overcommitment that you get with the crossguard stance, where it takes so long to do an attack.
Yeah. Like I've started to min-max a lot of my attacks with the crossguard stance, because I want to get the most amount of damage at least amount of hits, because it takes so long. I also don't love the new thing where like enemies with a tiny bit of health will keep that little bit of health, so you can do it like a cool takedown.
That's not new.
Was it not? Because I'm noticing it way more in this one, where like enemies will survive hits they might not have necessarily, because it wants me to give the option to do like a cool takedown, except I get like so overwhelmed with enemies so often that oftentimes it saves the enemy instead of giving me a cool thing.
Right. I find that sometimes it gives them that break and I hit them and it doesn't activate the cool thing, which I find annoying.
Oh yeah, like that happens too sometimes. But like I've noticed it's saved enemies' lives, because I've gone to then, like I've thought I would have killed them because I know how much damage my attacks do on health bars, and then suddenly they're actually still alive and they might get a shot in on me, or I get interrupted. And I then get interrupted again by another enemy. And then by that point, that enemy has then unstaggered themselves and they're back into attacking me. And I'm sitting here going like, can I turn this off? Like this is like a bad version of the Doom
no, like glory kill.
Yeah, glory kill. That's kind of what it feels like. It's like, oh, we want glory kills in our game, but they didn't consider that maybe glory kills need to be a bit more tuned to like making sure they don't get in the way.
One thing I think we can agree on is that cutting off limbs is awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. I like to dress up my Cal. I've made him look like a complete dirtbag.
Yeah,
it's very easy.
I like to dress him up too. It's really, they've got really good options in there,
and none of them make him look nice.
I've had a couple of outfits where I'm like, no, this is good.
The outfit's all right. Any change to his hair or facial hair, he looks like he would call me slurs online.
Yeah, even like his first haircut is a bit like
fucking shocking.
It's just a guy's haircut, you know?
Yeah, like, but it's like fucking sleaze Bagano, like fucking like
a bit of Han Solo, a bit the Fonz.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is funny the amount of random stuff you can get for him. Like there is I saw it was in this Australian freelance Discord server, and they were talking about the like Brunswick mustache you can give him. It's like, oh, you really can give him a Brunswick mustache.
Yeah, the dirty stache. Yeah.
I'm really loving this game. We are likely to do a mini disc game club episode for this one. We were going to do it
when the game was going to come out,
but then they pushed the game.
Imagine what the game would have looked like then.
Oh, I don't want to.
Yeah.
I might have seen actually something of what it looked like because I was playing that pre-patch version, but yeah. We will be talking more about this game. I'm sure Jeremy's going to race ahead now. It's funny that we're up to the same place, and I've got literally more than double your hours in the game. Like, I've been doing a little bit of like guide work stuff on it, where I'm like messing around with like which skills to unlock or whatever, but like not that much. Like I've done a lot of side stuff. So
yeah, I'm kind of just like pressing forward, as that's more often than not how I play games at this point.
Yeah, totally. Like go for it. That's totally fine.
Yeah,
works for you. Works.
There are not many games where I don't do that. I'm trying to think of some, but like there's not many that really come to mind.
Well, yeah, I remember when we had that revelation like 12 or 18 months ago where we realized you just don't like open worlds that much, or when they add them into your games that maybe don't need them.
Yeah. Which is why I'm glad they didn't do that in this, because if this was like an open world, I would probably not play it.
That would be the final.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll look forward to more of that discussion. I'm sure we'll be talking more about Star Wars next week. We've been talking about Star Wars every week for weeks now.
I was about to say after this is not much, but there's the new Tales of the Jedi comes out soon, and then after that, we've got a bit of a break on Star Wars. Like I'm not sure when Ahsoka comes out, but there's like a bit of time in between.
That's good.
Which is good.
That's good. Oh, I think Ahsoka's soon actually.
I mean, there is a trailer, so like it's at least soonish.
Ahsoka release. August. Okay, not that soon.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. We're going to throw it to a break, and when we come back, we're going to hear all about Jeremy's time at Dreamhack Australia 2023. Was that what it was called?
Dreamhack Melbourne, but yeah.
Yeah, it was. Well, we'll be right back. Welcome back to the MiniMapCast. We predictably spoke much longer about more Star Wars during the break. So much more Star Wars. We just couldn't help ourselves.
It's like a disease.
It's called brainworms.
Yeah. There was a quote a while ago about how George Lucas felt about Plo Koon and about anyone who thought Plo Koon was their favorite character. He said only a diseased mind would have Plo Koon as their favorite character. And that is how I feel about me now, just with Star Wars in general. It has given me a diseased mind.
Yeah. Only a diseased mind would have their username be determined by Star Wars.
I can't believe how many turns I've done on that franchise. And yet,
there and back again.
It's like so fucking many.
Yeah.
For a lot of my childhood, I hated Star Wars. Like for like a lot of it.
You hated it?
Yeah, I was like, this is shit and bad. And I don't like it and stuff. And like it came back around again.
You hated it.
Yeah. Like I really didn't like it a lot growing up. Like I got to about like 12, and then between the like my edgy like 13 to 16, I guess, years were like I hate Star Wars. Star Wars is shit. I'm like blah, 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 blah. Yeah, it was dumb.
And then you realized that you were denying yourself the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
That George Lucas is a genius.
He was.
And that
He was. He was.
I was being facetious.
I know, but he is.
Jeremy, tell me about Dreamhack.
So I went to Dreamhack this weekend.
How was it?
It was really good. It was really good.
It seemed good.
Yes.
You were on. My only experience of Dreamhack this year were basically your tweets.
Yeah.
And all of which was some variation of you saying esports or Dreamhack has esports.
Yeah.
Esport :
Yeah.
or like I found the esports,
Yeah.
and it was someone doing like arcade basketball who like skeet shooting. Like
so my goal for this weekend was to tweet that I found esports at Dreamhack and make sure that I got everything that wasn't esports.
Did you tweet that first?
No. This was
because I think that would have helped a lot. Because as someone who has notifications turned on for you, I kept seeing these things. I'm like,
notifications turned on for me.
I think I do. Yeah,
that's funny.
And I was looking at this and I'm like, yeah, that's another joke about esports.
Yeah. I just
Dreamhack, and it was just like big chests in the front yard, like.
Yeah, there was
archery.
Yeah, so like there was a lot of stuff at this Dreamhack, I guess, unlike the last one, which I think is why it was better, because there was a lot more to do this weekend. Like I went all 3 days. I didn't spend a lot of time there on Friday. Because Friday again was like the students' day, like it was last time, where there was like panels on like, how to like, from content creators about like how to do streaming stuff, like for kids, and exploring that world from like the perspective of professionals, I think is quite useful. But also like it also meant that like I think one of the arenas wasn't actually open for the entirety of Friday because there wasn't anything on for them there. But across the 3 days there was at least stuff to do. So there was an expo hall like there was last time, but there was like a bit more there now. There was a few main stages. There was the bring your own computer stage, which was now a lot closer to where everything else is. So it wasn't just like in some corner that I didn't even know existed last time.
Right.
And there was an artist alley, which was good as well. So there was an entire one half of one of the stadiums in Melbourne. The inside promenade, I guess is what you would call it. That was just like lined up with artists all the way around. So you could buy prints and keychains and plushies and patches and all that stuff. And yeah, like the games that were at this Dreamhack were actually fewer than what they were last time, which was not that many. But I think it was still just an overall better convention because people weren't kind of just like sitting and waiting. Right. There was stuff to look at basically everywhere you went. Those games where they had, I think there was a League of Legends thing, and there was Counter-Strike was there because they had some playoffs. And a couple of other random stuff. Like there was streamers tournaments and stuff, where it was a bunch of streamers all playing like Gang Beast and stuff, which is like it's enjoyable to watch even if you don't care about any of this stuff because they're just entertaining people. Like there was a Just Dance playoff which I watched, which was good fun. So like I think it was an overall better convention. There was stuff like, like a lot of arcade machines, like DDR, those Daytona machines. But there was a big thing of like outdoor foam archery, which I was watching and I was like, is this just going to be them like firing out into this obstacle course? Because that's not very fun. And then halfway through, then like half of them got split up and put on the other side. I'm like, all right, yeah, here we fucking go. And it was, I
want to see blood.
Yeah, and it was dodgeball. It was dodgeball with archery stuff. So like they had helmets, like face shields, but it was big bows with arrows with big foam things at the end. And they had a bunch of different game modes which they rolled through the weekend. One of them was like, if you get out, you got to go back to your line and do like 5 jumping jacks to run back in, which was fun. I saw some dude get hit in the nuts, which was hilarious. And like the expo hall had the fighting game area was now inside the expo hall, which is a better fit for it because it wasn't off in a separate fighting game area. This was now in the middle of the expo hall stage. Was like the expo hall area was the fighting game stage, which was much better. Free play right next to it, so you can play high-end PCs and all the brands surrounding it. So like MSI and Asus and
Western Digital.
Yeah, like Intel were there. Like there was like a bunch of different brands all trying to get you to yell as loud as you can so they can give you a plushie of a CPU.
Yeah. Was there a like a money like a paper box,
No, they didn't. From Intel. They didn't have that this year, which I was bummed about because
that was a PAX thing, wasn't it?
No, it was Dreamhack last year.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and I was excited because like I saw it and I didn't try it because the line was too long. But like there wasn't that many people there on Friday when I went, and so I was like, I'm gonna go to the money machine. I'm gonna jump in the fucking wind tunnel and grab as many dollar bills as I can.
I'm gonna win a 900K or whatever.
They didn't have that this year. They had the claw machine, which I didn't get a plushie from, but yeah.
What's the point?
I know, right? And the Razer booth, not Razer, the Monster booth. They're both green and black. The Monster Energy drink booth had like speedrunners going all day, which was like a cool another little thing.
Yep. Decent. Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, that's for the most part, like sort of what it was. 3 days of that stuff. So walked around all the areas. It was good fun. There was music acts in the middle of in the middle of the Saturday. I'm gonna show you
between Valorant rounds.
No, like after, like in the evening.
Okay.
I'm gonna show you a video, Kerry. A video.
This wouldn't be a Jeremy does a convention segment on the podcast if we didn't have some form of video.
Yeah.
Show and tell.
So I sent this to my friend because I was like, I can't believe what I'm seeing right now. I did tweet this, so you might have already seen it. It's just them.
Is that Daft Punk?
Like, yeah.
Was that literally Daft Punk?
No.
Okay, so then why did you say who is it?
Well, like for all intents and purposes, like that's them. Like that's what they look like. Those are their helmets, and it's their music.
Yeah.
That's like a remix of it. But they had like proper like Daft Punk songs from this like.
Who were these guys?
I think they're a tribute band called Discovery, which is the name of the Daft Punk album. But this is like the Tron music. And I looked around.
So wait, what do they do when they get up there? They just hit play?
Kinda. No, like they were doing live mixes of it because like the second half of Aerodynamic that was playing was different. It was like that's not how the song goes.
For those of you listening who were listening to the podcast 3 months ago, that's the bit of the song on Guitar Hero I learned live while Jeremy like watched me like see the Matrix.
Yeah. I looked around and I saw nothing but staff members, which was so funny. There was like 15 people there.
Oh no!
Everyone had left. It was a shame because it was like like Daft Punk is good.
Yeah.
So
that's not a bad pull, honestly. I mean, it clearly wasn't enough of a pull for anyone, but like, that's a pretty good pick for that audience. I feel like.
And yeah, like that was, and so the other thing, which I actually forgot to write down in the notes and forgot to tell you, the other thing that I played, was Counter-Strike 2.
Oh shit!
Yeah, it was there.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
There was computers you could just walk up and go play. Like there was so many computers.
Did you see me like recoiling? Yeah. I was like, oh fuck.
Yeah. Counter-Strike 2, they made a sequel to Counter-Strike. Yeah, look, I don't know this game well enough to know really what the differences are. Like I'm not that kind of guy. I played it. It looked good. It ran really well. I got killed a lot by the people who were around me who were much better at that game than me.
Yeah, at Dreamhack.
Yeah, and the smoke looked good. So like,
volumetric, don't you know?
Big thumb up.
Oh man, I would have loved to have gotten hands on with that. Like
Woo!
I had a CS:GO moment in 2015
Yeah.
with some old friends of mine, and so it would have been fun to like rediscover my latent like my UMP like spray compensation pattern, like the pull on the mouse, the but like yeah, that's cool. Well, cool.
Yeah, it was cool. It was like a cool like event that was like worth it now. Like it like because I remember like the first Dreamhack, it was light and everyone knew it was light, and I was like, oh, okay, like, and I was actually worried that they might not make it back because Dreamhack are a big company, and I know they know how to invest, but also
Would they?
like there was an easy out at that point. They're back, and I'm sure they're going to be much happier with this. So like, yeah, it has been much better.
Did they have any like big? Did you watch any Counter-Strike or
yeah? Like
League
I watched
Valorant or
I watched some Counter-Strike. It was enjoyable. It was good. The commentators were good.
how were the crowds?
Crowds were
Like
good.
generally, like how many people were there?
There wasn't like it was never full. Which is like, look, Rod Laver, Margaret Court, like they're big.
Yeah.
But like it was never full. I didn't see. The thing is, like, there was no like massive playoffs for larger events, so there wasn't like a everybody's going to this one right now.
Yeah, like people are coming to DreamHack for this event, right?
Yeah. Which is hard. Like, I don't like it is hard enough throwing a games convention together, trying to sync it up with other like other associations for other sports,
especially running it in Australia on the weekend. Like,
so difficult, right?
If they could, though, I think that would be huge.
Oh, totally. And like, I reckon they can get there. I reckon they could like start to have like proper like, you know, Asia nationals or like something like, you know, like
Oceania.
Yeah. So yeah, like I think that they can get there, and I think that this proves that there is a case to be made for DreamHack to stay. So yeah, like it was good fun.
Great.
Yeah.
You've sold me enough. I might try and go next year. Who knows?
Like for a day, like there are worse ways to spend a Saturday. Like it was good fun.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I guess finally I've been playing a little game called Beton Brutal.
I need you to explain every iota of this game to me because it popped off on Discord the other day. I'm like, what the hell is this? And why is everyone talking about it?
So, yeah, and I got roped in. I was like, I saw people talking about it, and I'm like,
you
what
saw
is
discourse?
Yeah, I saw this, like, what are people talking about? People are excited about a game? All right, what's this game? And I looked at it for
what is it? I want to be excited about the game.
I looked at it for a minute, and I'm like, I'll buy it. Like, I'll get in on this. It is a first-person platformer.
Oh, that is not a winning combination.
It's a first-person platformer where you need to, the world itself is this harsh, brutalist, concrete, overrun by like gardens kind of world. And
oh yeah,
you've got a counter in the top left with how many meters you have jumped.
Oh, this is fucking stressful to watch. Okay.
Yeah. I streamed about an hour of this before my internet died the other day.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, I know, it's a shame. I was like sweaty. I was like stressed.
Oh, man.
So
this looks fucking sick.
There's a couple of things. So first of all, the first game this reminded me of was Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy.
Okay.
Because you don't die when you fall. There's no fall damage.
You just fall.
You just fall, and you better hope you fall on something that's closer than what you might fall on, which is maybe further down, and you got to jump all the way back up again. And all it takes is for you to fuck up one jump. That's all it fucking takes. Is
it one map or is it procedurally generated?
No, it's one map, and there is an end. Someone jumped into my chat and was watching after they've beaten it. There is an end, and at that point, it's about getting there faster.
Tries to replicate and build upon the parkour mechanics seen in Minecraft.
Yeah, that's the other thing. This game is a game made for people like me who did hours and hours of Minecraft parkour maps.
Uh-huh.
It is all the same mechanics. It is like
I just watched a gif of someone fall.
yeah. So on top of that, there is another mechanic in there which is new, which is you've got a vertigo meter.
Oh no.
And when you look all the way down or all the way up, that like the field of view like shrinks in and you look up and you get tunnel vision. Something else happens when you get too high vertigo.
Yeah.
You start to see things.
What, like Cthulhu?
Like shadow people. And that scared the fucking shit out of me the first time I saw one of those.
Oh my god.
This game is awesome. This game is so fucking cool. It is so simple. It is so it is such a cool design where there's really not much else going on. You know, not even death. There's no fucking fall damage. It is just like it is just go up, and every single jump is a single meter.
Right, it's like in blocks.
Yep.
I am buying this right now.
Yeah, and you can make every single jump. That's the thing. You can make it.
Yeah.
No, there is no jump that if you can make the first jump, then you can make all of them. That's the point.
Yep. It's all doable.
It is all doable.
Only 230 meg.
My high score is 265 meters.
Okay. Do we know how tall the tower is?
I don't know how tall the tower is. I explicitly told chat not to tell me. I thought it was higher than that. Maybe I thought it was higher than that. My highest fall was 106.
Oh, you fell 106 meters?
I fell 106. It keeps track of how high you've been, how high you currently are, and your tallest and your highest fall, or your longest fall rather.
Looking at that gif of the field of view pulling out with the vertigo,
so someone in the chat has mentioned Icy Tower, not unlike Icy Tower, where if you fall, like you have got to fucking just climb back up again. It is fucking so cool.
Sounds really cool.
It is really cool. And it's like the music is weird. The music kind of feels like a little bit placeholdery. But like it's sometimes it's like pretty good, and sometimes it's like this doesn't really fit at all with what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But it is at least like put in certain regions, and so the moment you make it past the region, like you sort of get past the music, and so you get another little bit of like I've made it past this bit. There's a lot of really dicey jumps. There's a lot of jumps where I'm like, how the fuck I have to do that? And I know like if I fuck this jump up, like I'm back to the very bottom if I fuck this one up. And so like you do it, and then you realize you've got 6 more exactly like that.
Hair raising.
Yeah, hair raising. And then, but the thing is, you've made the first one. You made that jump there. You can do this, and then you do it because you know how to do it. And it's like,
do they do the thing where you got to watch for your head, where you got to make sure you don't bump your head on stuff?
There's a couple of instances like that, but they are not. They are not like gotcha moments.
Okay, good.
They are like part of it, and they've got a big sign with a face with a hard hat on it. There's a lot of like ducking and weaving and like climbing around parts and climbing up the outside of structures, and then getting to the top of the structure that you didn't realize had a roof, and then you're at the roof of that thing that you climbed up like about 10 minutes ago. I played 1 full hour of it non-stop and got to 265 meters, and I cannot tell you how like stressed I was the entire time. It is so good. It is so good at getting those feelings out.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really cool. And like there are more mechanics than just this. Like there's like water, and there's bounce pads and stuff like that. All Minecraft adjacent stuff. But it's all like within the math of like I know how to read it. And the best mechanic, which I didn't know until someone told me, which I'm telling you now because you've bought this game, because you should know about this. There's a button you can press called Scout, and what that does is it gives you free cam for just a small little area around you, because it's not about it. The game encourages you and wants you to know what those jumps are. It's not about figuring out the jump as you're in the air.
Or
It is-
like figuring it out by failing.
Yeah, it is about knowing what it is and executing on it. That is the point of the game. And so this little scout gives you like a little radius so you can fly around in, and you press it again and it zips you back out to your body. And then you can attempt to jump by knowing where the ladder is around the corner, or knowing that there's a ledge that you might not have necessarily seen or just might have accidentally missed. Definitely recommend using that. That is part of the game and it is part of the learning. It is not a cheating mode. It is a like, you should be doing this mode.
It's a tool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Yeah. Beton Brutal, really cool. Like, it came out of nowhere. And like, I was talking to someone who has just been jumping streams, playing this game.
Oh, yeah.
And they were like, yeah, for some reason, like, only Australians. And I'm like, really? And they were like, yeah, like the only people that are streaming this game right now are Australians. Or like the only people that are streaming this game are Australians. And I'm like, that's so strange. I was like, where are you from? They're like, Australia. Like, yeah, just for some reason, like this game has just got a small Australian following.
Who made it? It seems like one person made it.
I have no idea who made this.
Jan Maliszek.
I see.
They made such games called the Hailwald Loophole, the Primordial Pain, and Trials of Argolis.
Yeah,
right. One of them has 8 user reviews, 13 user reviews, 134 reviews, and then Beton Brutal has 310.
Nice.
Yeah, go for it, Jan.
Yeah, this game is really cool. And it's cheap. It's like $10. And fucking
official custom level support.
Yeah. Yes, I did see that. I've not had a chance to jump into that yet.
New in-game level editor using all elements found in the base game. Oh, there's a leaderboard upgrade.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, you should get on this.
I guess.
Yeah, it's good. It is so stressful.
It sounds great.
I've so rarely do games evoke like kind of like fight or flight in you. Like you get that sometimes in intense moments, like in Dark Souls or in moments where there's like high stakes. This game is nothing but stakes, because if you fuck it up, you got to do it all again, or like a lot of it again.
It's like Redfall, nothing but stakes.
Yeah. There we go.
Vampires. Nice. Great. Well, thanks for the sell, Jeremy. Yeah, I'm kind of scared to load that up now that I've downloaded it, but you know, you download your bed, now you have to sleep in it.
Yep. That's what they say.
That's what it is said many times, often, frequently. Don't look that up. Hey everyone, it's the end of the podcast. We made it. Well, thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. What? I'm looking at this outro and I just said a couple of things that like are redundant now, so I don't want to read them over, but now I'm getting lost.
Yeah.
We'll be back next week, as we are every week. But we'll be back to talk about the topic that we thought was going to be this week, but we filled it up a bit instead, which is the best shopkeepers in games. We're going to be discussing them, talking about them, ranking them maybe, I don't know. So be sure to check that one out. Pardon me. The best way to make sure you don't miss that episode is to follow our social media accounts. That's at MiniMapAU. You can follow us individually as well. Jeremy, where can they follow you on Twitter?
At Obi-Wan-Cheers.
And you can follow me on Twitter at KJPalmer_24. You can also head to minimap.com.au for absolutely everything else Minimap related, including the Mini Disc podcast. So look forward to our Star Wars Jedi Survivor recording of that. And also our latest article on the website. It's up there. For those of you that are live with us on Twitch, stick around. We're about to start the post show. For those of you listening later, make sure to give us those so tasty 5-star ratings. It helps out a lot, and consider joining us next week for the live show. Lastly, if you wanted to support us on Patreon, if you want to help keep the lights and mics on, you could do that by heading on over to patreon.com. Pardon me, let me say that again. Patreon.com/minimapau. And for $5 Australian, you'll get 24 hours of early access, for all episodes of the MiniMapCast, as well as some more benefits, all while helping us out greatly. Those extra benefits are like we discussed earlier in the show. We're recording an old E3 reaction. Our post shows go up as a recording there, like last week where I read the Pokemon Platinum physical guide out to chat. That was fun. So yeah, check that out. If you want to chuck us a couple of bucks. We'll be back next week with some what you're buying. And until then, stay safe, have a good week. We'll see you then.